had I been asked to speak a few years ago, I might have been speaking not so much about innovation, but about the University of Manchester Library in transition from being a library that when I arrived in 2008, I saw as an okay library, great collections, a library that was very proud of itself, but not terribly strategically aligned with its parent university. Today I'm speaking from a different place. I want to talk about the work that the library has been doing after a number of years of change, and I'm very proud of what we've achieved. So my talk will be about moving this library from a position of goodness. I think we're a good library, and we're now trying to become great. So it's the good to great story, and we're not great yet. This is a lot to do with my team. It's not about me, so I can say we're good because I have this wonderful team. Hands off, all of you. Doesn't always rain in Manchester, but it rains quite a lot. And the first thing I thought I'd say is just a bit about the context of the University of Manchester Library. And it's quite consciously not about the university, although we are a library, I think, that faces our customers very, very well. So it's a message about scale, and I don't say that because, this is about mine's bigger than yours. It's about the fact that if you're trying to introduce innovation and culture change in a large organisation, it's probably more difficult than in a small one. So there's a sense of scale about this. We're a large university. The library's spread over 11 sites. We have undergone, as I've said, significant change, and a lot of the change we have seen you will also recognise. One thing we have done since 2008 is have invested a lot in leadership development. Every member of my team has undergone some form of programme, whether that's TMP or Top Management Programme, or the Leadership Foundation's Future Leaders Programme. A couple have been to the States for their own development needs, and we continue to place a lot of emphasis on our development, all of us. The last box there is interesting to me because I just checked it out before I came, and of the roles in the library, those 300 plus staff, only about 20 to 25% of those these days require a library qualification. I don't know whether you think that's good or bad, but it's an interesting fact, I think. So how are we doing now? Well, this is really just to reiterate what I've said about, I think we're in a good place. I think the library is well respected in the university. So I'm not here to tell you about how we got to this position. We are taken seriously. We have good relationships at the senior level. Our scores are positive. I think 93% NSS score is respectable. I know there are people in the room who have a higher score than that, but we're proud of that. Our score has gone up every year. Manchester University has quite an obsession with internal review and performance of directorates. We have annual interviews, and I don't mean appraisal, I mean my team attends an annual appraisal meeting. And we do very well. We have management satisfaction surveys. How pleased is the management with the library and every other part of the university? And the library score is the highest in the university, I'm pleased to say. We're now in a position where we seem to be winning national and international awards. And generally the message here is we have a positive profile about the place. So as I've said, this is really about how we move the library from where we are now, or where we have come from, to becoming a library that is truly great. And the first thing I suppose I could say is, well, why do we bother? We're doing okay. And many people might say, well, actually, you could stop now and you could just relax a bit. But I have a team that is extremely highly motivated, and we really do get a kick out of striving for more. So I'll say more about that as we go. My talk then is structured around those 4 headings in that purple box. The 4 things that I think we sort of represent the work that we're doing now sit around, I've put market intelligence, this isn't the language we actually use, it just fits in the box. It's about knowing our customers as well as we possibly can. It's about having that strategic vision. Where is the library going from here on? Of course, it's about innovation. I wouldn't be here, I think, if it wasn't about innovation. And it's about more culture change than we have already seen in this library. So the first thing to mention is knowing your customer. This is a big piece of market research that we have commissioned over a year ago, actually, with a company called Alterline. And this is about us as a library really knowing our customers as well as we possibly can. We have a number of strands to this work. I can't go into the detail because there isn't enough time. But we have identified from that research not only a lot of intelligence about where we want to go in the future, but also some quick wins, things that we have in the past rather taken for granted about the library service, that actually our students and our researchers tell us we have not fixed at all. Basic things like how students find books. We have over 100 video clips from this research to show how impossible it is to use our library, actually. And so we are in danger, without this research, we're in danger of concentrating on the innovative, the new things, the things that we all get a buzz from, and forgetting that actually there are a lot of things in a library of this size that are really difficult to solve for students. Strategic vision. This is the second strategy for the library since I've been in post, and I think it's probably the second strategy that the library has really had. So we took a different approach to this time. We involved all of our staff, and we decided to take out anything that we regard as business as usual. So these little boxes here represent the features of our new strategy. We said, okay, this time we will not have a huge strategy document. We will develop ideas that make a big impact, that are difficult to implement. They only belong in the strategy if they're hard to achieve. They need a wow factor. They need to be quite sizable, because we now run our strategy through a series of projects with a project team to manage those, or to help support those. So we knew that we were at this point in our history looking at step change for this library. Talking now about innovation, so this is the third of my headings, we decided to pull a group together. This isn't a formal team in the structure, but it's a group of people from across the library, all grades, who have something to offer. They volunteered, something to offer to help us to generate new thinking for our services. They don't do it all themselves. They lead the library for us in terms of new ways of doing things. And I think many of you may have heard of the Eureka Challenge, because I know that many of my colleagues have spoken about it before, but this was the first initiative from the innovation group. It's a kind of Dragon's Den approach, a student competition, and we've run it now for 2 years with some success, I would say. There's a quick video here. But the point of this is that we're using our students to help us to generate new ideas for services, because they're the best placed people to do that. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to now run through some of the new ideas, the new services that the University Library is offering. Please don't sit there and think, well, that's not innovative, we do that already. This is about my library, and it's new for us, and it's new for our students. So bear with me, please. So the first of these, Books Right Here, Right Now, is one of our strategy projects that is about our ambition to solve forever the problem of texts for students. Obviously, you'll expect that is about digital content, and we have a project around that. I can't talk about detail because there are too many of these. I'm just going to whiz through. We have an iLibrary project. In fact, we have 2 that are really about the future of the digital library. My Learning Essentials, this is it's the library's skills programme, but it's much more than that. We have used our Learning Commons as a focus, a magnet, for all of the skills training on campus. And we coordinate all of that from the Learning Commons, and we bring in trainers and academic staff from right across the university. This is not a subject-based programme, it's curriculum-linked, it's blended in terms of its learning approach, and for us this is quite innovative. Visitor engagement, this is the John Rylands Library and our programme for young people, aspiring undergraduates. We have Harry Potter days, Doctor Who sleepovers, or is it the other way around? I'm not sure. But it's our part of our outreach programme. Booked In is a library game that we have developed in partnership with Glasgow University, and it's using gaming mechanics to build on existing student behaviours. So people get points and wear badges and all that kind of thing. Book a Space, this was the winner of our Eureka challenge in the first year that we ran it. This was a student, Jade Brody, who came up with the idea that we needed some way of allowing students to book not just study rooms in our buildings, but their actual spaces, because of this problem we have with people hogging their desks, going off, leaving things, or just turning up at the library and not being able to sit down. So we have, in partnership with a supplier, we're running a pilot of 50 places where students can book in advance their study desk. And Library Wellbeing, this also came from Eureka. It was an idea from a student to have some service around exam time to support students who were suffering from stress. So we have Tai Chi and massage and something else that I can't mention, that I can't think of. Textbook Rescue. This was it was another idea from Eureka. It's an attempt to salvage textbooks from students who are leaving the university to pass them on to future students. This year, we've done it for 2 years. This year, I think 2,200 books were rescued and passed on to the next cohort of students. Click and Collect, what do you think about that? John Lewis style. This was believe it or not, this was the winning idea from the most recent Eureka challenge. The idea being that students don't any longer have to go and get the books from shelves, we will get them for them. We're just exploring this, but I thought I'd put it in. What you see there in the picture is actually just a shot from our self-service reservations. So we're not actually doing this yet, but we are exploring it, and it did win the £1,000 prize. And we're just about to install our first sleep pod. For me, I think. In the Learning Commons, we have a Digi Lab. This is an experimental laboratory for students and staff to come in and play with the technology that is kicking around these days. So we had a massive response to this a few weeks ago. Hundreds of students turned up, much to our amazement. They were able to experiment with Google Glass, 3D printing pens, 3D printing, Oculus Rift, the virtual reality hardware, and we will run this from time to time. Fantastic response, actually. Exam Extra, this is something we introduced for the last round of exams. It's really what the library can do for students beyond our normal service at exam time. So, of course, long opening hours and all the rest of it. This is about opening up rooms that are not usually open to students so that there is more space for them to study. It's about offering revision classes, clinics that are advertised throughout that period. And in the Learning Commons, again, we have just this year opened a personal device support desk. So there's a little small queue most of the time of students with their tablets, their handheld devices, wanting help with those. And that's had a tremendous response. And then a few little small things that have been introduced at the suggestion of students. Those supermarket trolleys that you pull along because we sympathise with students who are having to carry too many books. The digital future hasn't quite arrived. Umbrella bags. It rains in Manchester, so people come in with their wet umbrellas. So we now have a stand with a whole load of umbrella bags in 2 sizes. And earplugs. I'll say no more about that. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention something around the research area. Digital preservation. We hear on Monday whether we've won an award for our digital preservation of email. We have the Carcanet Publishers Archive in our special collections, and we have preserved that digitally, about 2,200 emails, I think. And then we've developed, in partnership really, we have developed, by taking Tableau software that you may be familiar with, and working with, putting it together with SciVal, we provide user-friendly citation reports for schools and faculties, and particularly for senior managers of the university. And we have also, I'm just thinking of other services, we've partnered with Altmetric to develop services that extend research reach and impact beyond citation analysis for researchers. And then in terms of building our own tools, we've developed, as many of you will have done, we've developed our own APC processing tool. And you'll be wondering why there's that strange photograph there. That is a man called Stephen Pearson, who is the coach for our University Challenge team. He's a member of the library staff, but he is really leading for us in this whole area of citation analysis and altmetrics. And he's there because he hit the media big time last year as the Alex Ferguson of quizzes. So I thought he deserves credit, really. And the next one is the John Rylands Research Institute, which is, has been running now for about 18 months. It's a unique partnership between the library and the Faculty of Humanities to generate more research from within our collections and to attract researchers internationally to that library. So now moving on to that last part of that purple box. This is about the culture change that we are going through, we're in the middle of, to enable the library to do some of these things and to continue to do them, to build on some of the success that we're experiencing. You'll imagine that whether you do all of these things in your libraries or not, for Manchester this has really helped to raise our profile in the university. It's hard to conceive of an initiative going on in the university where the library isn't involved in some way or other. So we, leadership team that you saw under the umbrellas at the beginning, we sat down together, probably 18 months ago and said, okay, what's going to stop us moving in the direction that we want to go? What are the barriers? So we went off, as we all do, we had our away days and had a hard look at our culture. Is it enabling us or is it inhibiting us? Do we need new thinking, new values, new behaviours? And are we ready to face up to some of those barriers? Because we know that we, as leaders of this library, put barriers in the way of our staff on many occasions. Are we fit to deliver on this new strategy that we've been touting around the university? Can we actually do it? So, leadership, I've said already that we've had major investment in leadership in the library, not just at that senior level, but right through the organisation. I take my hat off to my team. We have really put ourselves through the mill, actually. We go off for these workshops and away days, and we have conversations with one another that I could not have imagined were possible a few years ago. We're very keen to be the best that we can be, and sometimes those conversations are very uncomfortable. We may ask one another or tell one another what it is that we find difficult to talk about, where the elephants in the room are, and sometimes quite intrusive conversations. We also have looked very hard at the way we manage business as usual. If we've got this aspirational strategic vision what are we going to do? What are we going to let go of in order to achieve that? So you'll see there's a box there about empowerment. It's really hard for us. We're very controlling, actually, as a bunch of people. It's very hard for us to let go of what we have had our hands on for so many years. But working with staff, being open and honest with them, coming clean about our own hang-ups, about letting go, we're working as a staff to achieve this. And you probably think, yeah, I've heard all that before. But actually, we've had workshops. We're about to start our second round of those with all staff to rethink the culture. And I'll move on to talk about that in a bit more detail. But it's, this will, I'm sure, be familiar to you, risk-taking, the need to be more business-like in our approaches. So our decision to move away from the old structure that we had of subject librarians. We've gone for a functional structure. I've already said we have a team of project managers to support the strategy, and really just trying to speed things up a bit so that we can get there more quickly. And this is about creating a more self-confident organisation. So as a result of the workshop, the most recent workshop with all staff, we have developed 5 ways of working. I won't read them to you. Yesterday they were 8 ways of working, but we've honed them because we think 8's too many to remember. But these have come from the leadership team and then the staff. And so everybody at the moment is talking about these features of the culture, and staff are involved in trying to decide how we get there. We're developing a strategic workforce plan. Its first draft is out to help us to plan for the future in terms of the skills we need, the kinds of people, and how to increase diversity in the library. Changes to people and roles, I really do mean that. Some people have, to use the euphemism, some people have had to get off this bus and leave us. And we've also really changed a lot of roles within the library. I've mentioned a big investment in staff development, and we also use coaches quite a lot when we hit a particular issue. Succession planning is on there. I know we all talk about succession planning. What we've done at Manchester is to create 3 groups at different levels of the organisation. All managers belong to one. It's called the Strategic SMF, Strategic Management. Where's Rachel? Forum. Thank you. Strategic Management Forum. Then we have, and all managers are obliged to be part of that forum. We have a group for leaders. That's the Leadership Development Network, and those people have been handpicked from not just the senior layers, but quite far down the structure to join in leadership development programs and opportunities. And the thought there is that there are people hidden away who perhaps have more potential than we're currently realising. And the third group is a group of relatively low-grade staff who form the Career Advancement Network, and Rachel leads that group. And they are also, we believe, future leaders, but they're still fairly early in their careers. It's a new departure for us because we have said for the first time ever, these are people that we have handpicked for these groups, with the exception of managers. Rachel also, sorry to keep picking on Rachel, but she leads a small group of people who are myth-busting at the moment. What are all those things that have been hanging around as legends in this library that, again, might stop us succeeding? One of them is when Jan wears her leather skirt, it means bad news. Improving the culture again. I've talked about much of this. Performance management. I know that this means something for all of us, but we are working very hard, taking this very seriously, not least because it's only fair to the people who are doing very well and working hard that we show we manage performance when it's not so great. We have good ways of rewarding good performance too. I think it's important to have that balance. We have a scheme, or a few schemes actually, to reward that. And we're also looking at changes to the physical environment. Is it better that we should all be open plan, for example, rather than have lots of people tucked away in offices? And I include myself in that. Phew, I got there. I was afraid I wouldn't manage it, but that's a really, really quick run through some of the things that are going on in Manchester. I know a lot of that will be familiar to you, but I hope I've pulled it together in a way that has some kind of coherence and meaning for the topic of the